Hello everyone. Welcome back to AskPrep. Today, we are exploring two essential articles that protect the rich diversity of India, Articles 29 and 30 of the Indian Constitution. In this video we will cover Introduction to Cultural and Educational Rights in the Indian Constitution. Article 29, Protection of Interests of Minorities. Article 30, Right of Minorities to Establish and Administer Educational Institutions. Comparison of Article 29 and Article 30. Significant case laws and judicial interpretations. Let's start from the first point: Introduction to Cultural and Educational Rights in the Indian Constitution. Overview of Articles 29 and 30 as protectors of minority rights. Articles 29 and 30 serve as vital safeguards for cultural and educational rights, particularly for minorities. These provisions ensure that India's diverse cultures, languages, and religions are respected and preserved. By protecting minority communities' rights, these articles contribute to India's unity in diversity. Importance of these articles in preserving India's cultural diversity. Articles 29 and 30 prevent the marginalization of smaller communities, fostering inclusivity. By allowing minorities to uphold their cultural and educational preferences, these articles promote a balanced and inclusive national identity. Now let's talk about the second point: Article 29, Protection of Interests of Minorities. Explanation of cultural and educational rights for minorities. Article 29 ensures that any group with a distinct language, script, or culture can conserve its identity. This right applies not only to religious minorities, but also to linguistic and cultural groups across India. Definition of minorities and criteria for classification. Minorities refer to groups smaller in population, defined by language, religion, or culture, with unique customs or traditions. These groups are classified based on specific criteria, often determined by state and national demographics. Scope of protection under Article 29(1) and 29(2). Article 29(1) protects cultural identity, allowing groups to preserve their heritage. Article 29(2) ensures non-discrimination in government-funded institutions, prohibiting denial of admission based on religion, race, caste, language, etc. Examples illustrating protection of linguistic, cultural, and educational rights. States like West Bengal and Maharashtra have enacted policies allowing linguistic minorities to access education in their native language. Cultural festivals and educational programs are held across India to celebrate regional heritage, demonstrating Article 29's impact. Now let's talk about the third point: Article 30, Right of Minorities to Establish and Administer Educational Institutions. Explanation of the rights of minorities to set up and manage institutions. Article 30 grants minorities the right to establish and operate educational institutions. This empowers minority communities to impart education aligned with their cultural values. Key terms: minorities and educational institutions. Minorities, as in Article 29, refers to groups distinguished by language or religion. Educational institutions, schools, colleges, and similar bodies set up for academic or cultural instruction. Understanding the autonomy of minority institutions under Article 31. Minority institutions are allowed considerable autonomy in their administration. They can decide on admissions, faculty, and curriculum to reflect their cultural values, with limited interference from the state. Limitations and regulations on this right for quality and fairness in education. minority institutions must adhere to basic standards of quality in education. The state can regulate to ensure that minority institutions maintain quality without interfering in cultural matters. Cases highlighting the application of Article 30. St. Stephen's College v. University of Delhi allowed minority institutions to reserve seats for their community members. TMA Pai Foundation v. State of Karnataka defined the rights of minority institutions and set boundaries on government regulation. Now let's talk about the fourth point: comparison of Article 29 and Article 30. How both articles work together to preserve minority rights. Articles 29 and 30 complement each other by covering both cultural expression and institutional autonomy. Together, they allow minority groups not only to preserve their heritage but also to educate future generations according to their traditions. Distinctions between cultural rights, Article 29, and institutional rights, Article 30. Article 29 primarily safeguards cultural identity and access to education without discrimination. Article 30 specifically enables minority groups to establish and manage their own educational institutions with a degree of independence. Now let's talk about the fifth point: significant case laws and judicial interpretations. Key Supreme Court cases defining and refining Articles 29 and 30. Kerala Education Bill case clarified that state regulations should not undermine minority rights in education. St. Stephen's College v. University of Delhi confirmed the right to reservations within minority institutions. TMA Pai Foundation v. State of Karnataka set guidelines on minority institution autonomy and state intervention. Brief summaries of judgments and interpretations for context. These landmark cases have shaped how Articles 29 and 30 are interpreted, ensuring a balance between autonomy and regulation. Judicial interpretations ensure that minority rights under Articles 29 and 30 align with the broader values of equality and social unity in India. If you found this video informative, then write it down, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss more important videos in the future.